This is the Chiropractic Marketing Podcast, an on-demand talk radio show that covers internet marketing best practices for chiropractors. I'm your host, Dr. Patrick McNamara. Welcome, everyone, to episode number 78 of the Chiropractic Marketing Podcast. I'm your host, Dr. Patrick McNamara, and today we're getting into something that I think a lot of chiropractors have heard about, but maybe never fully understood. What am I referring to? Featured snippets. What they are, why they matter for your practice, and most importantly, how you can start winning them. Let's set the scene. When a patient types a question into Google, something like, what causes lower back pain, or how often should I see a chiropractor, they don't always land on the first organic result. A lot of the time, the first thing they see is a highlighted answer box sitting above all the other results. That box has a short, direct answer to their question, and it links back to the website that provided it. That placement is called a featured snippet, and it sits in what's commonly known as position 0. Position 0 is exactly what it sounds like. It's above position 1, above every organic listing on the page. If you're holding a featured snippet, your practice is the first thing that patient sees, before they've had a chance to look at any competitor. That's an incredibly powerful position to be in. Now, there are a few different types of featured snippets, and it's worth knowing the difference. The most common type for chiropractors is the paragraph snippet. That's where Google pulls a block of text, typically somewhere between 40 and 60 words, and displays it as the direct answer. These tend to appear when someone asks a what or why question. List snippets appear for how-to style queries, where Google pulls a numbered or bulleted list from a page. And table snippets can appear when Google finds structured comparison data that it can display in a table format. For most chiropractic practices, paragraph snippets are where the biggest opportunity lives, but featured snippets aren't the only answer placement worth paying attention to. On most Google search results pages, you'll also find what's called the People Also Ask section. If you've ever searched for something and noticed that expandable list of related questions sitting in the middle of the page, that's People Also Ask. And here's what makes it interesting. Each one of those questions pulls its answer from a specific website. When a patient searches, "Is chiropractic safe?" and they start clicking through the follow-up questions about pregnancy, kids, frequency, or headaches, each of those answers is coming from a different website that earned that placement. If your practice has content structured around those follow-up questions, you can show up multiple times in the same search results page. That kind of visibility compounds. So how do you actually win these placements? The first thing you need to understand is that Google pulls featured snippets from content that's structured to be extractable. That starts with your headers. If a section of your website covers a specific patient question, the header for that section should match the way patients actually ask it. What causes lower back pain is a header that matches a real search query. Etiology of lumbar discomfort is not. That might look professional on paper, but Google can't connect it to the question a patient is typing into the search bar. Once you have question-based headers in place, the next piece is what I call the answer then expand approach. When a section asks a question in the header, you answer it clearly and concisely in the very first sentence or two. You're aiming for that 40 to 60 word range, because that's typically what Google extracts. Then, after you've given the direct answer, you expand, you go deeper, you explain the nuance, give examples, and demonstrate your expertise. Here's why that two-part approach matters. The concise answer at the top is what earns the featured snippet. The depth below it is what builds trust with the patient who clicks through. Google wants to feature content from pages that are genuinely authoritative on a topic, not thin pages that have a quick answer and nothing else. If your back pain page is 3 short paragraphs, you might have the right answer, but you're competing against a page that has the same answer plus a thorough breakdown of causes, red flags, treatment options, and what to expect at the first visit. That deeper page wins the snippet, and it holds it. This is also where FAQ schema comes in. Schema markup is a way of telling Google, in structured code, that a section of your page contains questions and answers. When you implement FAQ schema correctly on your condition pages and service pages, it gives Google clear machine-readable signals that your content is designed to answer specific questions. That makes it easier for Google to pull your content into featured snippets, people also ask boxes, and increasingly AI overviews as well. If you want to go deeper on how schema markup works for chiropractic websites, I've linked to a full guide from DCRank in the show notes. Speaking of AI overviews, this is the connection that makes all of this even more important right now. Google's AI overviews are those AI-generated summaries that appear at the top of the page for a growing number of search queries. They synthesize information from multiple sources and present it as one cohesive answer with citations. The content that gets cited in AI overviews is largely the same content that wins featured snippets. They're drawing from the same well. So when you structure your pages for answer engine optimization, you're not just chasing one placement. You're building the kind of content that performs across all of these answer features simultaneously. The same logic applies to voice search. When someone asks Siri or Google Assistant a health question, the assistant reads one answer out loud. There is no second position in voice search. The answer that gets read comes from content that's structured for direct answer extraction. If your content isn't set up to provide that clear, concise answer that a voice assistant can pull and read aloud, your practice simply won't be the one that comes up. I covered voice search in more depth in a previous episode, so check the show notes for a link to that one. Here's the thing that I want you to hear clearly. The competitive bar for featured snippets in the chiropractic space is genuinely low right now. Most chiropractic websites don't structure their content for answer extraction at all. Their condition pages are walls of text with no question-based headers. There are no FAQ sections. There's nothing for Google to pull. That means if you go in and restructure your pages the right way, you're not just competing against other chiropractors who are doing the same thing. You're competing against websites that don't even know these features exist. That's a meaningful advantage, and it's available right now. If you want a full breakdown of how answer engine optimization fits into a broader search strategy for your practice, I've linked to DCRank's featured snippets guide for chiropractors in the show notes. It covers everything we talked about today and goes even deeper on the content structure side. And if you've been following along with this podcast for a while, you might also want to go back and listen to my episode on generative engine optimization for chiropractors, because AEO and GEO work together in ways that multiply your visibility across both Google and AI platforms like ChatGPT and Perplexity. The show notes have a link to that one as well. The bottom line is this: patients are asking questions and Google is answering them. The only question is whether your practice is the one Google is pointing to. If your content isn't structured for answer engine optimization, you're handing those placements to whoever is. And once a competitor locks in a featured snippet on a topic you treat, it takes real work to displace them. The time to move on this is before that happens in your market. Head over to DCRank.com if you want to get a sense of where your practice stands and what it would take to start capturing these positions. All right, that wraps things up for today's episode. Thanks for tuning in to the Chiropractic Marketing Podcast. Before you go, remember to subscribe to my podcast on your favorite platform, whether it's Apple Podcasts, Audible, YouTube Podcasts, Spotify, or others. I've got you covered. If you need to see a full list of supported platforms, simply visit chiropracticmarketingpodcast.com. Last but certainly not least, I'd love to hear your thoughts on Apple Podcasts. Your reviews not only help build awareness of what I'm talking about, but also give me a good indication of how I'm doing. Be nice, be fair, but definitely be honest. I would greatly appreciate it, and so will future listeners. Thanks for listening, and I'll catch you next time.